the challenge is there.
No one could have asked more of anybody.
Would you run it up? No.
Change attack again.
Damon Hill knew exactly what Formula One's spoiled, rich world looked like, because he had to fight it from the inside. He did not arrive with a trust fund or a corporate army. He arrived with a famous last name and nothing else. And yet, in Adelaide in 1996, he crossed the finish line as the Formula One world champion. Not because the system welcomed him, because he refused to let it destroy him. His father was Graham Hill, a two-time world champion. The family lived in a country mansion in Hertfordshire, and motorsport legends walked through their front door regularly. From the outside, Damon's childhood looked privileged. Then, in November 1975, Graham Hill and several members of his team were killed in a plane crash. Insurance claims wiped out every penny the family had. The mansion, the connections, the comfortable life, all of it gone. Damon was 15. He spent years working as a manual laborer and motorcycle courier just to survive. He started racing motorcycles in 1981 at 21, sleeping in a tent at race meetings and preparing his own bikes. He borrowed money through a sponsorship deal to keep his career alive. No safety net, no connection opening doors, only sacrifice. So when you hear Hill criticize Lance Stroll, a driver whose billionaire father owns his team, understand that the anger comes from a place most people in Formula One never visited. Hill has said publicly that Stroll needs to dominate Fernando Alonso so completely that the team has no choice but to treat him as number one. He has suggested Stroll should leave Aston Martin and race somewhere he would have to sink or swim on raw ability alone. During the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix practice, Stroll deliberately collided with Lewis Hamilton after being impeded on track. Hill called the behavior daft and petulant. This was a man who built himself from nothing, telling a young driver that no amount of money replaces personal accountability. If that changes how you see Damon Hill's career, subscribe right now and comment below. Did Hill have the right to be angry at how Formula One treated outsiders? We want to hear from you. Now here are the 6 figures who stood in his way, counted down from the most surprising to the one who delivered the coldest blow of all. Number 6, Patrick Head. Patrick Head was the engineering director at Williams, and he doubted Damon Hill in a way that cut deeper than any rival on track. During the difficult 1995 season, Hill was racing under the shadow of Ayrton Senna's death, carrying the entire team, and still winning 4 races. Head publicly criticized him for letting his head drop. He questioned Hill's mental resilience, ignoring the enormous pressure Hill was carrying as sole team leader after losing a world champion teammate in the most traumatic way possible. Head's rigid style made Hill constantly prove not just his speed, but his right to be taken seriously. Head later admitted that letting Hill go was a major error caused by egos on both sides. That admission came years too late. Number 5, Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill were never enemies, which is exactly what makes this complicated. When Senna died at Imola in 1994, Mansell returned to Williams to support Hill's first real title fight. Hill had already spent 2 years as a Williams test driver, logging thousands of miles developing the car's active suspension. He and David Coulthard told the engineers the Williams FW16 was extremely difficult to drive. The team did not believe them. Then Mansell returned, said the same thing, and suddenly it was accepted. Mansell's champion status and salary carried more institutional weight than all of Hill's work combined. The fault was not Mansell personally. The fault was a team culture that valued reputation over contribution. It hardened something in Hill. Number 4, Heinz Harald Frentzen. In May 1996, while Hill was in the middle of fighting for the World Championship, Williams secretly signed Frentzen to replace him for 1997. Hill was not told honestly. He had to show up to every race, push the car to its limit, and fight for the title, knowing the team had already moved on. Every victory came with a quiet sting of knowing he was already finished there. Then, in 1997, with Hill at Arrows and Frentzen in his old Williams seat, the tension boiled over. Frentzen brake-tested Hill in the pit lane during qualifying. Hill publicly called him a brick short of a full load. Frentzen went on to win just 1 race all year. Hill had won 8 in 1996. Williams had secretly replaced their champion with someone who could not come close to matching what the champion had done. Number 3, Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques Villeneuve arrived at Williams for 1996 as the reigning IndyCar champion and the son of the legendary Gilles Villeneuve. He came with heavy corporate backing and walked into Hill's garage as his equal on day one. Fast, fearless, and sharing the same car, the same data, and the same engineers as Hill. He took pole position on his first race weekend in Australia. Hill fought back, out-qualified him heavily in the races that followed, and won the championship. Their relationship had edges. In the Williams engineering room, Villeneuve once tried to take food from Hill's plate. Hill stopped him immediately. "You can race me on track," Hill was saying, "but you will not take what is mine in here." That moment said everything about how Hill had learned to protect himself inside a team that was supposed to support him. It created a form of respect between them. But fighting your own teammate during your championship year, while already knowing the team had secretly chosen your replacement, was a level of pressure most drivers will never have to manage. Number 2. Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher was not born rich. He came from a modest background in Germany. But in the mid-1990s, he had the full institutional backing of the Benetton team and used every advantage available, including weapons that had nothing to do with racing. Schumacher was a master of psychological warfare. He systematically used the media to push one story: that Hill was not a great driver, that he only won races because the Williams car was so superior, anyone could have done it. Because Schumacher was dominant, the press accepted and amplified this framing constantly. Hill has openly admitted those battles made him feel useless and untalented. The defining moment came at the 1994 Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide. Schumacher touched the wall while leading the championship. As Hill moved to pass him, Schumacher turned in and both cars were out. Schumacher kept the title. Hill spent the entire winter of 1995 to 1996 rebuilding himself mentally and physically, with a new trainer pushing to a level of confidence he had never reached before. He came back believing he could beat Schumacher on equal terms. Then, he went out and won the World Championship. That mental comeback from the psychological wreckage of those years is one of the most underrated achievements in the sport's history. Number 1. Frank Williams. Frank Williams built one of the greatest racing teams in Formula One history. Brilliant, driven, and completely ruthless. His philosophy was understood by everyone around him. Drivers are replaceable components. No matter how fast you are, no matter what you have given the team, a better option means you are gone. After Hill won the 1996 World Championship, his manager, Michael Breen, walked into Williams' office, placed his briefcase on the desk, and demanded a salary 5 times Hill's 1995 earnings. Frank Williams sat in silence for 2 full minutes. Then he told Breen to leave. Negotiations were finished. A man who had just delivered the team a world title was shown the door because the team did not want to pay what he was worth. The fallout was severe. The treatment of Hill played a direct role in legendary designer Adrian Newey's decision to leave Williams for McLaren. One cold decision cost the team its champion and one of the greatest designers the sport has ever seen. Drop a comment right now. Which of these 6 figures treated Damon Hill the worst? Was it Frank Williams, who threw away a world champion over a pay dispute? Was it Schumacher, who came closest to breaking Hill's spirit? Tell us below. The real lesson here is not about 6 people. It is about a system. Formula One has always rewarded money, politics, reputation, and leverage. Hill walked into that machine with a broken financial background and a surname that carried as much pressure as prestige. He was doubted by his own engineers, targeted psychologically by rivals, secretly replaced by his team, and discarded after delivering the championship. And he still won. After his driving career ended, Hill became president of the British Racing Drivers Club from 2006 to 2011, helping secure a 17-year contract for Silverstone to continue hosting the British Grand Prix. He and his wife Georgie remain active supporters of the Down Syndrome Association and St. Joseph's Specialist School. The man who slept in a tent at race meetings ended up protecting the future of one of the most iconic venues in sport. Formula One has always had money, power, and privilege. But Damon Hill's career proved that none of those things can manufacture the mental strength needed to survive. That is something no amount of privilege has ever been able to buy, and it never will be.